Unfiltered, uncensored, and unapologetic. This is the Retail Warzone podcast.
A lot has changed since the last time Adam was on with us. We were just right before we came on talking about the retail Twitter community and how awesome it is. I know quite a few of you folks have read the book. You love the book. The book is great. You see here on the screen, you see his different social media. Also, there's a link to his book permanently in the description of every Retail Warzone podcast. So that's there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over to him for just a minute and let him kind of give the Cliff Notes version of what he's done and about the book. And then we're going to go from there and have a good time. So you good with that, Adam?
Sure.
All right, man. Have at it, bro.
Well, yeah. So in 2019, I was pretty miserable in my corporate life, and I decided to quit my job, cash out my 401k like a dumbass, and like take the rest of the year off from about August till the end of the year to work on a different novel, not the one that I ended up writing. But so in January of 2020, I started working in a grocery store to basically kill time, kind of like, and do something that I knew was exhausting. That is, at least I didn't think of it as being mentally exhausting at first, and do that while I work on the editing and getting a good draft going of the first novel. But then I started in late January of 2020, and by March, shit hit the fan. Schools were closed. I started blogging about all the things I was going through, like the kind of weird shit that we all dealt with or deal with at the beginning of the pandemic in a grocery store. And the blog grew. It grew and grew and grew. Became like a community. People were sharing with me a lot of like pictures of their loved ones that were working in grocery stores. Everyone was very worried. I started it grew to, 15,000 Facebook followers. And I took a lot of the stories that I was talking about, or that I'd heard from other coworkers and I turned that all into a narrative that follows Daniel on the first week in a grocery store, in a high-end grocery store as the pandemic hits. And yeah, that's that's the impetus of how it all got started. But Daniel is me. A lot of that stuff's very much me. And it's been quite a journey so far.
Nice. Well, already, not to interrupt you, but already in the comments, Luke of the Wind says, can I also say you are amazing for writing this book? Sure, it kind of triggered with a few things, but it was an amazing book, a book that needed to be done.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I need insanity. It was so there at the beginning of the pandemic, and to have so many people going through the same thing and having that outlet of writing, it saved me from just, spiraling out and drinking or some shit like that.
Gotcha. One thing I'm going to throw up real quick, though, is I did prepare this. I've got a little screen capture of some reviews. So here we go. Alicia, love the book, 5 stars. I initially discovered this author on Facebook a short ways into the pandemic. He had started a customer-facing job at a grocery store days before COVID made landfall in his state. It was quickly captivated by his writing style, introspection, and compassion in describing the personalities that came to the surface as people tried to cope with new realities. When he announced he would be turning these thoughts into a novel, I couldn't wait to get my greedy hands on it. When it arrived, I thought I'd just take a glance. I have a hard time focusing long enough to read more than a couple of pages at a time. I was on page 40 before I knew it. Highly recommended to read for anyone even remotely considering this purchase. Another one, fantastic read. This is from Luke Hipsher. 5 stars. The writer did an excellent job of putting the read in the mindset of what it is like to be an essential employee during a global pandemic. Really enjoyed it. Christine, 5 stars. Great book. Great book. I work in a supermarket for over 30 years. Never in my career have I experienced what I have in the past year. This book sums up the past year very accurately. I couldn't put it down. It was great to read the pandemic from another retail worker's point of view. Then we got Jeffrey Greer, very engaging, great book, 5 stars. I just got this today and it is great. I wasn't planning on reading it straight away, but it grabbed my attention. The pandemic has hit everyone, but in different ways. It's fascinating to read such an in-depth look at what it has been like for this author. Most of it has been on the other side of a grocery line, and this helps bring it full circle. Pick it up if you want a good read. Highly recommend. Shameless plug, the next one, this was actually mine. Fantastic and a must-read. If you are a current or former retail/grocery employee, this book is essential reading. As you progress through the story, you will find yourself feeling as if someone has written your autobiography for you, and in essence, this author has. The reference to interactions between customers and employees in the book will resonate with you on a personal level that you may have never experienced before. The writing is superb and does an excellent job in describing things we have experienced in the business in excellent detail. Adam has not only told a story close to him, but our stories as well. In the future, this should be required reading for all employees in the retail/grocery industry as a primer to what you can expect working on the grocery line. And then the last one is captivating and exciting. A very captivating and relatable novel based on current events. I was drawn in immediately and found myself completely submersed in the plot and experiences of the main character. Even when I was ready to put the book down, I found myself wanting to read more. Pick this one up. And you know, Adam, I'm going to say it again. And I've said this to people on Twitter. You did something that was extremely phenomenal to all of us that work in the business, because we all, when we read it, we can hear the own personal voices of people we've dealt with in every one of these situations. It's crazy. I mean, I'm not an avid reader by no means. I've read stuff. I mean, I read like weird books like The Heroin Diaries by Nikki Sixx and shit like that and whatnot. But reading this and having worked in the business for so long, I mean, it struck a chord. I mean, it was legit. It was like, oh shit, I can hear this stuff. And real good, real quick, going through the chat, see if we missed anything. Hero, this is a very good book. Highly recommend. Jeff Brister, good evening, gents. Good to see you again, sir. Blame tag. It'll be good to have books like this for the after times where people start to forget. This will be a piece to let people know what it's really like. And that's important. That's a great comment. Luke of the Wind says, I recommend it to my retail friends. And Hero says, and this is something we've talked about numerous times, the customers have already forgotten. So, Irish, do you have anything to add real quick?
Well, I'd like to know from Adam, the feedback that you got from people that never worked in retail, what sort of feedback was that? Were they even interested in the book? Were they dismissive? Did they find it, eye-opening?
Eye-opening, the thing that I hear most. It's like, do people really treat you like that? And it's like, I mean, I wrote it in, it's fiction, so I exaggerate it to a certain point, like the elements of it. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely how people treat grocery store employees, really retail or service industry folks in general. Yeah, it was definitely like usually get eye opening. Like, wow, that's like, and also
we need more of that.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
we do.
That would be me if somehow, like it changed or it just planted a seed in someone's head that, maybe just treat someone else with empathy or just being like a normal human being, like they're not a second-class citizen, which it didn't happen all the time, a lot to people that work in the grocery store industry.
Right. All right. So question, Russell asked, would you have written this book if COVID never came about?
No. The book I had was working on is actually like it has Daniel as the main character, but it's a wholly different idea that I had working through, and it might come to fruition down the line. I feel like Daniel's character is going to progress. I'm writing the second book now.
Yes.
And like the one that I was writing before would almost be like a third or a fourth, but like maybe like Bret Easton Ellis, where I don't know if you've ever read him. He has return characters, but it's not it's like in the same world. It's the same universe.
Same time, the same timeline.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But like not a continuation of the same story per se. So.
Right. Squid Puppy says, I don't work in retail, and I was intrigued to read about someone else's experience. I think that's a valid point too. The people that, like Irish said, you pick up the book, you've never worked in that kind of business before, and to get a firsthand glimpse of what it was like, because I'm telling you, we've talked about this, the last time you were on before the show and whatnot, you had the work experience, okay. And you were able to take all these things and develop them into something that I think in the annals of history, I'm telling you, I know it's slow burn, like everything we all do. It's slow burn with the book, but eventually your book is going to become a part of history. And if it doesn't, I'm going to burn something down, because it really is. I mean, and Hero is my wife, and Hero will tell you, I don't read books. I don't. All right. It's just not something that's really, I've written and stuff like that, but that's all different. But what you did was amazing, because, it's an easy read. It's not, how many pages is it, Adam? Like
180.
Yeah, 180. So you seriously can sit down in the day and finish this book.
Mm-hmm.
But what you get in that small encapsulated period of time is amazing. I mean, and anybody that works in the business, and it translates all the way across every industry, whether it's, retail, grocery, service industry or whatnot, we've all heard that stuff. And I cannot, and anybody that I've ever talked to about the podcast, having you on in the book, I'm like, you need to go get this damn thing, because it's essential reading. It's going to become a historical document at some point. So, and I'm proud to say I know you, and I'm proud to say we had you on, because one day I'll be like, as my youngest says, back in my day, I'll be like, I knew that dude. I read the book. It's awesome. And, it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it's one of the first, Steve, too, because I have tried extensively in the past to go down the kind of academic route, looking at research into the effects of workers working in retail. There's nothing, and I've looked. There's very, very little coverage of this from any mainstream studies, or it's only now it's beginning to become apparent that we've missed something very, very big: mental health in retail. And I think that, to my knowledge, your book is the only one I know of that has that at its core. So congrats. I think you're the first.
Yes. Comments. Joey K says, that supports my theory that once COVID is gone, it will have inadvertently caused a bunch of societal reform movements. True. Blame Tag. This is great. He goes, shit, I should have gotten the physical version to gift to a Karen. Yes. SRFC1234, I have not read the book, but it'd be nice if someone came to you to turn your book into a movie. Yes. Hero responded to Blame Tag, it's not too late. Retail Queen, do you think that people that don't work in retail that read this book will see themselves in it and change their attitude and behaviors? The floor is yours, Adam. That's a great question.
That is a good question. I mean, that's the hope, but like, I don't know, we so quickly, and people have such short attention spans that like everything became so political so quick that like that people don't like to be introspective, and it's hard to be critical and think that you did something wrong or your behavior is not up to snuff. And if no one is telling you that, like no one's willing to like call you out, then you're probably not going to change at all. And
right.
I would hope that people do. I mean, even like from the beginning of the pandemic, I feel like it still feels like a fever dream, like moving all the way through it, that you maybe have to get a little ways out to know. And that's
right.
That comes with the historical fiction idea or aspect of the book where, maybe a few years down the line, it hits some momentum. I mean, I hope it does it a whole lot earlier than that, so I don't have to do the shit that I'm doing right now. But
right.
It gets on later and people look back on like, man, look at how much society changed just in we went from 0 to 100 really, really quick.
Yeah.
And then you look back on it and you read the book, and I hope it will. I really do, but I don't know. I can't answer on that.
I do too. I mean, I think this is an important, we sit here and we do this and whatnot. I don't think any of us really understand the true importance of what you did. And it sucks for you. I mean, and I get it and I understand. It may be something that you continue to do what you do and whatnot. And it's kind of like cult films, I guess, in a way, where, a movie gets released and it doesn't do great at the box office, but many years later, it becomes this booming, juggernaut, because they say cult following, which is kind of weird. It's basically people who found it late. Yeah. And and I do believe that, Katie here says Library of Congress, let's go. Yes, it should be in the Library of Congress.
It is.
And is it?
Yeah, you need a book to it, so it's in the Library of Congress.
It needs to be. It needs to be on the permanent record. And it's a shame that, to me, that it hasn't exploded yet. But I think it will. And you've got a lot of things going on that you've talked about, coming up or whatnot, that, it's a slow burn, because just like what we do here, your book is also very niche. And like you said, relying on the PR, to get people to understand what it is and get it out there. That's the hardest part, to get people in. But I feel like everybody I've talked to that's got a hold of it, they're in. It's just getting it to those people. And yeah. I think one day you're going to wake up, one day and hit your email, and all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh, holy shit, it finally did it, and it's going to be awesome. And so it's great. Let's see what else we got. Iron Maiden says, I know what my family members are getting for Christmas. So there you go. There's some more sales.
Wow.
Squid Puppy says, I've been following the experiences of people forced to interact with customers this past year or so, and naturally that makes me more mindful as a customer. I'm also married to someone in retail, and the daily stories are hard to ignore or dismiss. Correct. Let's see. Retail Queen says, you just need to get people to read it.
Well, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing is getting someone to buy something is always, it's a whole different element. Like for someone to give your money to them,
right,
or give their money to you is it's challenging, especially when I think what you said earlier, I think it was Irish Connection that said that was it's a little bit triggering, or someone said that earlier. It's fresh. It's really, really fucking fresh. If you're still working through it. I do customer service, but now I sit at home on a computer, and it's drastically different. So if you're living through it right now, still where now all of a sudden it picks back up and you have to wear masks and there's all these things, but now we're back to a normal speed too, where no one gives a shit. Then
yes,
it might remind you of the hard parts, but for me, that's kind of comforting, I guess.
Right. So let me ask you about the sequel. I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any part of the sequel that you can reveal that kind of tackles the concept that in 2020 you were heroes and essential, and in 2021 everybody forgot?
Well, not far in it yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm still like it's different than how I'm assembling this novel is different than the first one. Obviously, I was like living the first one, and I had all the source material kind of already like written, at least the chunks. Right now, I'm like, I would say that I'm constructing a real detailed outline and trying to like write characters in. I'm going to expand on the other characters, but no, that's definitely like a good topic to incorporate in there in the conversations. I start off the book with it's been a year in the grocery store, and Daniel's had his year review, and he's having a conversation with his boss about his performance and what it was like, and in the end he gets a 60-cent raise, and
wow.
Like, no one gives a shit, and he has to. I don't want to give away too much. Well, like, actually, I'll say he, at the end of that conversation, he puts in his 2-week notice. Now, I don't know if I actually going to keep that, but I figured that'd be a good way to reflect back on the year at hand. If he's got a set time of 2 weeks to, I don't know, do it. Does he actually want to quit? Will he quit? Like what this all meant to him, and what these people mean to him. The ones that he suffered through a year, or worked through a year of really like uncertainty in his life. So we'll see how it goes, but that's pretty much all I got so far. Like, it's stuff that I can really like relate to you.
Well, I'm anxious. I'm ready for the sequel. The first one was good, so bring the sequel. Let's go. From the chat, Iron Maiden says, spread the good word, my friends. Joey K says, watch this book blow up and Karen start protesting it as hate facts. Are you prepared to have your book on a pile of wood getting burned? I would think that'd be cool, honestly.
Hey, if they're paying for it.
Yeah, if they paid for it. I feel like that's one of the worst crimes, though, is book burning.
I agree.
I would hate those people. Like, any book, it doesn't fucking matter what it is. Like, if you Mein Kampf, that's information. That's like how we communicate. It's all we have. Like,
right.
But yeah, I'd love it if they started, because, dude, any publicity is good publicity.
Amen. Blame Tag says, I thought it was triggering as well. Oh my God, the shit about they don't care that you're a hero. They just want you to know they said it or something like that. That hit me hard.
Yeah, the disingenuous nature of telling people they're heroes, but then in the same breath, like, treating them without much respect. That's one of the worst things. I've done quite a few interviews since I've been on this podcast, and I get that a lot. Like a lot of questions about, well, did you hate the hero, or what did you feel about the hero thing? And like, what would be a better alternative? And to me, I don't think there was an alternative. I just want people to be like, treat others with respect, with a general monicum of, we're equals. Like,
right. You're people.
Yeah. Like, you in society's rankings or whatever, like the amount of money you make, yeah, it's different. But like, when I talk about in the book with the brain surgeon, he was always so interested in what I had going on. He's a fucking brain surgeon, man. Like, he getting around in people's skulls and saving their life. And I just, put words together in a grocery store and just, I don't know, shoot the shit with people. Yeah. And I found that doesn't like warmed my heart. It's enlightening. Like, more people should act like that.
Yeah. The brain surgeon story was great. That whole patchwork thing. That was amazing, and that was very well written. And it's interesting because I know you do like a lot of these radio shows and stuff like that, and it's got to be, I would think for you, it's got to be a little bit kind of weird because, I mean, you worked in the business and you know the business. And it's different, and at least I would think so. It's different than like me and saying Irish and Alex and anybody else in the chat here talking to you because we've all worked the business. How hard have you found it talking to people that have no clue?
I think so far everyone's been really, really nice, and they're extremely interested. So if like maybe I am just getting out and talking to people and doing 20-minute segments on AM radio at 6 a.m. like I did.
Yep, I listened to that. It was great.
It's pretty funny, like but it definitely maybe that is like changing hearts and minds. Maybe that like makes someone's listening. They might not buy the book, but they understand more by just like me chatting about it. And like wait, what was the question again? Sorry, I lost the thought.
Oh, well, just saying that, like us here, like, on the show or on, we all work the business and we get it, how difficult, or have you found any kind of like pushback or confusion, I guess, from people that's never been where we've been talking to you about this thing?
Not so far. Everyone's been really nice. And I mean, the more people that show general interest, I think that'll go a long ways. So far I haven't. I've had like 6 or 7 interviews.
Right.
And everyone's been real nice. Most of them aren't about like they don't ask me about the hero stuff as much. It can be kind of more informational.
Right.
But yeah, like I think people they're genuinely curious, and they also want to know that like, that they're improving society. Like I just did one for Go Green Radio, which should come out on Friday. Mm-hmm. I'll post it to Facebook and everything. But she was genuinely, like, I guess, empathetic with the plight of people that work in grocery stores and the supply chain. Those are things that are scary about, March of last year. So far, so good, man. So far, so good.
Good. Well, here you go. You got a sell during the chat. SFRC 1234 says, you talking about the book just made me buy it. I look forward to reading it. It sounds like a good read. There you go.
Good.
Doing our part. Irish, what you got?
All right. I'm curious to know. There's obviously in the news. There's talk about the amount of what's so-called worker shortage. Now we all have our opinion on what that is here. How much of that do you think is down to the issues raised in your book, which would be like the treatment of the general public towards ordinary retail workers, and how much of it do you think is just wages that people are just they're just burnt out now? I know it's a mixture of both. I'm just curious what you think.
So like the shortage on workers for for retail jobs, things like that. I'd probably say it's wages a little bit more. I mean, also like having to work weekends and like the schedule in of itself is not something a lot of people, I guess maybe more in the middle of their life, would want to do. If you have other options, a lot of people would rather do that. That's kind of what got me. I was like, I got to get the hell out of here because I just wanted to be able to spend time with my friends, and it was completely antithetical to everything else that they were doing. Wages, probably, but so as I was leaving the grocery store, I was a manager and I was making like $20 an hour or something, being way overworked for $20 an hour. But
Hold up. Say that one more time. How much were you making an hour?
$20 an hour.
Now, were you a department manager, or were you a like assistant customer service, or like store manager?
So you have to remember where I live. For one.
Yes, I do.
okay, cost of living. There isn't anything in Denver for less than like $1,100-$1,200 a month for rent. So like right now, I have like the cheapest apartment. It's right around there. It's at like about 1,100. So like, you're scraping by on $20 an hour. I was called the fresh pack supervisor. So I wrote production and managed basically the entire closing of the department, like the prepared foods area.
Now, it's prepared foods. Is that like deli?
Yeah. So I was in there was like pizza. There was a chef's case, an open grill. It was basically a restaurant inside of the store. So I was kind of managing the restaurant basically to close at night.
That makes sense. Yeah. Gotcha.
So, and yeah, I know $20 an hour sounds like a lot, and I'm sure it is in other places, but it really wasn't much of anything for me in Denver. But like people, as I was leaving, people were getting hired straight up as employees at that amount.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I worked, I mean, you had to manage everything, you had to write production, and you had to close down the store. We were the last people always out. I was pretty much out at like 11 every night.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yeah, it was horrible, dude. Like, the only thing that was beneficial, though, was that I started at, like 2 in the afternoon, but then had all that time in the morning to write.
Right.
In a way that was pretty beneficial. But my schedule was never set. Like, I never really had, like, set days off or anything like that. And I got worn down on that all. So that I don't think there's a lot of appeal for people to work in grocery stores. And I don't know how you would, like, draw them in more. More pay would be good. But it's tough work too. Once you start doing it, you're like, man, this is not nearly as easy as I thought it would be. Like the cashier was, I thought of it was going to be fun, and it seemed pretty fun at first. Like it was mainly just you just brush off the Lindas and the Daves, and you just got to bullshit all the time, and work part time. But like in the end, like the real work that goes on, like you work overnights, you do all sorts of shit. So that was a long meandering answer to that question, and I hope I answered it well.
Well, you bring up a good point, because I have a saying, and I've had this saying since I was 18 years old, and that is, if you can survive the grocery business, you can survive anything retail throws at you. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a true statement, because there is no harder business to work in than the grocery business, because that is, if you want to talk about something that is an essential business, I mean, truly, and take COVID out of it, a business that has to exist, it's grocery, and the demands are hard. I remember when I first started working grocery, and I was 18 years old, and I wound up on the stock crew, and I worked first shift, second shift, third shift every week. There was no rhyme or reason to it. I remember being a healthy, athletic, young, 20 years old, and sleeping for 24 straight hours after a week. And people don't understand how grueling the grocery business can actually be. And that's another reason why I love your book, because I started in grocery. I mean, my first 5 to 6 working years were in the grocery business. I started as a bag boy, moved up, and did the thing. And I don't think the general public really understands how grocery really works. I mean, it's difficult. It's hard. And you working 2 to 11, man, those shifts suck, because what happens is you're cleaning up after people that cut out at 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah. You don't have an escape. No one's coming to relieve you.
No, it's all you.
Yeah. And people call out, and you're down to, I don't know, half staff basically.
Yeah.
And you got to manage your way through the night and get everything to look spick and span by the time you leave, plus everything else. And yeah, it wore me thin. It wore me so thin. And I was
it does. I mean, you're right. Going to the chat, Iron Maiden says, has anyone at your old store read the book?
Yeah, a lot of people bought the book right away. There's a few people that are in there, like even pretty much by name.
Right.
They're all the characters are based, except for Leela. Leela is kind of a culmination of a few different women that I worked with.
Right.
But like Neil and Mary, those are real people. Really, really good people. Fucking awesome people.
Do they like it? Do they think it's cool?
Yeah. Mary
awesome.
really loves the book a lot.
Oh, good for Mary.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Sean says, I honestly believe that COVID shook people to their core and got people thinking deeper about what's important. Is that minimum wage job where you're working 2 jobs, 60 hours a week with no benefits really worth risking your life for, missing family time, etc.?
Was there a question in there? Or
that was the question.
Sorry.
Yeah. Is that minimum wage job where you're working 2 jobs, 60 hours a week with no benefits really worth risking your life and family time, etc.? From a grocery business standpoint, I mean, you don't have kids, right, Adam?
No.
Yeah. So, and you live in a very high dollar area. So even though, like I said, when you brought up you made $20 an hour, that doesn't really mean shit. And Blame Tag, he's in Florida. He's like, same thing. $20 an hour, you're scraping by. Yeah,
I made enough to pay my rent. And then, I was almost lucky that everything was shut down and there was nothing to do. So, it was, it's rough. And it doesn't feel worth it if there's the risk there. A lot of people did quit. It's like, for me too, and a lot of other folks, it's an in-between job. And,
right.
It's not a career choice per se.
Oh, this is actually kind of a funny one. And I've experienced this in my past. Proto Rage X says, yeah, I can respect that. An old friend worked produce and they worked him hard. And the random danger of a surprise big spider hidden in the banana shipment. So did you have any unexpected critters in your shipments, Adam?
No, nothing that I knew of. People said they saw rats at night occasionally.
Well, yeah.
Mice. You could see mice running around downstairs.
Funny story. So we're talking about grocery business. When I first started with the company, when I first started in grocery, and rats, you've heard of the stories, correct? And we had grocery stores are going to get rats. It just happens. I mean, people don't need to freak out and be like, oh, they're unsanitary or whatnot. There's a bunch of food in those buildings. You're going to get rats. They're going to find it. We had a rat named, and someone named it. His name was Jojo. And Jojo would go out and sit on this little divider wall at night when the third shift trucks came in, and Jojo would sit there and watch us unload trucks.
Oh my God.
And Jojo was about as big as my 20-pound cat. He was huge.
Oh
and
God.
When you work grocery, did you ever run a floor machine or anything, Adam? Like a floor cleaner?
No. They had a staff to do that.
Yeah. So at one point in time, part of my job was I had to run the floor machine. I had to go around the store and clean the store, with this big Zamboni kind of thing that scrubbed and there was water. And every morning you had to kind of clean the squeegee and whatnot. And I'll never forget, I reached down to clean the squeegee and this rodent ran out that was like the size of a small horse. It was terrifying.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you're lucky. You never got to experience that.
Yeah. Nothing crazy like that happened.
Well, that's good. It's just, Blame Tank says, down in Florida, we don't have Dave and Linda. We have Rhett and Trisha.
There you go.
Wow.
I could see them now.
Let's see. Maiden says, "What was it like when things get recalled? I can only imagine the scrambling that would happen to pull products. Did you have any kind of recall situation during the COVID thing while you were there?"
No, we didn't have any. Well, did we? Maybe I blocked that out because it was so bad.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, not that I can think of. We were constant. The store I was at was so busy.
Right.
One of I think the second busiest in the region, and the region has like 40 stores.
Wow.
Super, super busy. And so I would write production for the fresh pack stuff, which is a lot of what people buy at lunch. Like sandwiches, we did pre-made sandwiches and all that stuff.
Right.
And it was half empty all the time. This is like, even after everything got more normalized and stuff, it was impossible to keep up. And
damn,
you're like, oh, this is just like, and that was my, I take pride in my work. So you'd see this wall that you could just never catch up on. It was like a nightmare.
Yeah. It's kind of like, go ahead.
I knew I had to start getting out of there when I started dreaming about work, because that was the whole reason that I quit my old job, was I didn't want to be consumed by this. That's not what I'm doing to live, it's just pay. It's just for pay. And yeah, once I started dreaming about work, I'm like, okay, I got to figure out a plan.
Well, funny story. I dreamt about work last night. I don't know why. I woke up this morning. I'm like, what the hell was that? And Blame Tag says, work dreams are the fucking worst. They are. I was like, I woke up this morning. I had a great night's sleep, and I woke up. I'm like, it's not that serious. I mean, I'm doing something. Sure, I've got a job, but I don't carry keys, and I don't jingle when I walk. I'm like, my stuff's pretty basic. Why am I dreaming about this? So it's crazy. Iris, what you got?
Well, I'm just curious. As you know, I'm across the water, so I'm just trying to get my head around. You drew inspiration from your book, obviously from real customers as well. Can you paint a picture for me of what was a typical problematic customer? Were they all the same cohort? Were they very diverse? Did it come was it from every class, creed, and color, or was it is there a core kind of group that just overrepresents problematic customers?
So the store that I worked at was a high-end grocery store. So it was, and it's one of the nicer neighborhoods in Denver. It's old money for sure. So it definitely felt like it's more of a class thing. Race, creed, color, all that stuff really didn't matter. It would you get a variety of different folks, but there were a lot of I don't know, really nice purses and stuff, and very stay-at-home moms, I think, would be one of the more typical ones, at least for that store. The kind of people that don't take care of their own kids. They have nannies.
Surprise.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they don't they don't understand, because maybe they never had to deal with something like that, or they haven't in so long that it just becomes some sort of distant memory. But that was the interesting thing when everything started melting down. You had all these people that really never had been backed into a corner, struggled. Just getting they had their comforts. People get their level of comfort, whatever it is. They like their fancy cheese that we just didn't have, and it would be very upsetting. Oh my God, why don't you guys have this? It's I don't know, bitch. What the fuck? Sorry, I don't know if I should swear so much, but
you swear as much as you want. We don't care.
But yeah, I think it's that. It's the entitled nature. You, even with the pandemic going on, and the shelves look dystopian, empty, because we're still trying to catch up, and you still have the expectations that we should have your artisanal bread, whatever. It's that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. If I could just chime in, just because the majority of you, all but one, I think, in the chat probably wouldn't be familiar with it in Ireland. Essentially, a lot of what you just said there would run over here as well. So we have kind of two ends of the spectrum. One, just like you pointed out there, people who are more or less privileged, I suppose. They never worked retail, never even had to contemplate working retail, and they have this superiority complex that you're, just a piece of whatever that needs to, bend to their will. And the other end of the spectrum, they would be the kind of the customers most likely to steal something and punch you in the face. They're just the kind of it's just the other end of the spectrum in the sense that they're the most volatile, I suppose. If they came in without a mask, they'd be the first ones to start screaming and shouting at you, not because they're privileged that they don't have to wear a mask, because, you can't tell them what to do. It's attitude, But the vast majority of customers are actually okay. But those kind of two extremes make it so difficult. And people that have not worked retail do not realize, you can't just shut them out. There's such a volume of them coming through the stores that it's you can't filter them. It's too late. They're already in by the time you realize they're problematic.
Yeah, you definitely can't. It's your job to take it on the chin, basically. It's part of those people that they're looking for someone to take it out on. Whatever's miserable in their life. Like one of the stories I relate in the book about the woman who, it's double bagging. We couldn't double bag at the time because we were running out of bags. We were so busy. And, she didn't like that. And she just starts grabbing shit off the conveyor belt and jams the cart in the slot and throws everything in her cart, misses some stuff on the floor and just storms out. And as she's storming out, she looks back at me, licks her hand and slaps the counter. And I don't know what she said right before then, but she was obviously there was shit going on in her life. She was miserable at home, trapped with people maybe her husband she doesn't love anymore or something. I don't know. I'm a writer, so I get those stories in my head, or the kids that don't care about her. All of it came crashing down, and she decided that this was the appropriate time. And I'm free to just be a complete asshole because, you guys have to take it.
Yeah, retail invites that therapy for them.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we're going to spend the last few minutes here strictly chat questions. So shoot them off. All right, so let's see. What do we got here? SRFC1234 asks Adam, did you ever experience in person people fighting over toilet paper at the start of the pandemic?
No toilet paper. Well, so the store that I worked at, they don't have much. They don't have a lot of paper products in general.
Right.
Where at a Kroger or something, it's an entire row or aisle.
Right.
They didn't really have much of that at all. So that was just gone. There was a lot of people walking way around each other. There's a lot of hostility about being too close.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they weren't too close, it was just this, tension that just kept bubbling up to the surface. So those are the major fighting sort of things that I saw. No toilet paper though. Gotcha.
Just a comment. A Squid Puppy says wealthy stay-at-home moms are so out of touch. Yes.
Yep.
Let's see. Iron Maiden says, sorry, no gorgonzola today. The blue cheese isn't blue enough, says Blame Tag. Blame Tag also says they can't be arsed, as you say across the pond. That's for you, Irish. Retail Queen says, one of the mandatory training videos in my store is dealing with escalated customers. Russell says, surprisingly, myself can amend, I hope. The Dollar Tree at Cherrydale was much the same way, vast broadness of classes, yet still same outcome for people being bitchy. And he's correct. It was interesting because there wasn't a dollar amount. It wasn't a class thing. It was like, if you ranked people by the money they made and the status they had, we had an equal bit of, I guess, for lack of a better term, Karens for every segment. It had nothing to do with, they felt they were more important or whatnot. It was just all across the board. And the way we were treated was, we sucked. So, yep. Squid Puppy says, people who lick their palms in grocery stores don't love anything. I can agree with that.
Probably, yeah.
Hero says, people who bite produce to quote unquote see are the devil. Yep. So, what do you guys got? You got anything else? You got any more questions for Adam? Let's hear it. Let's go. Typically, this is the point, Adam, where our chat descends into chaos. And it's always fun when it does, because I wind up getting tickled at some of the shit I see, just to let you know. Blame Tag wants to know, I want to know if the I almost said yes lady ever came back.
Oh,
that's a good question.
Yeah, she never came through my line. I never saw her again. She was really, really awesome. She was a cool person.
Yep.
I would see a lot of people regularly, but I never saw her. Yeah.
That sucks. That was a great story.
Well, yeah. It was. I mean, that's like fictionalized too. She didn't actually It's meant to bring out the sweetness in people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hero asks, did your time in grocery change the way you look at people?
It's a good question. I think more than because I've worked in customer service, or my first job was in a grocery store. I worked as a courtesy clerk for a year to save up for a car in high school. So I think I knew that before. What I had seen, what I saw during my time though was what fear does to people. How truly weak so many people are. I mean, it's just a lot of things are weak. The supply chain is weak. Everything can fall apart at any moment, really. And I think I saw that more than anything was what people's response to fear is and uncertainty. And I didn't want that in myself. I found a different outlet, which was the writing. I never really had that real strong sense of fear about the virus, not because I didn't think it was real or something like that, or any of the bullshit that a lot of people thought, but the fact that I just knew I could not commit too much mental energy to that. I just couldn't do it. Otherwise I wouldn't get anything done. I'd just drink whiskey every night all the time and with neighbors and just drink myself into stupor or something, getting so anxious and paranoid over it in a different way. But that's the main thing that I think I pulled out of it.
Gotcha. Russell asked, is there a lot of difference between Boulder and Denver?
Boulder's really it's a unique place. It's a college town. We call it the People's Republic of Boulder because it just has its own thing going on. It's a beautiful city. It's really nice. It's super expensive. Houses up there in the millions, a lot of them. And then you'd look at the house and you'd be like, what?
Right.
How can this be so expensive? But it's a gorgeous town. It's got its own college vibe going on. And yeah, that's the major difference. Denver is definitely it's a big city.
Right.
Going on.
This is a good question. This is something we've discussed before. It says, Blame Tag says, going back to Warzone Classics, do you believe that the customer worker relationship has been forever broken by COVID-19?
The customer worker relationship has been broken by COVID-19.
And irreparable.
Irreparable. I think a lot of things got broken by COVID-19. A lot of people's brains, a lot of families, a lot of lives. The relationship between customers and employees. I mean, for the foreseeable future, I wouldn't see like anything getting better on that front. You'd almost have to like get this element out, like everyone that works in retail right now, they have to like move out, and a whole new class of people would have to come in or something to like, I don't know, maybe restart that relationship. But
right,
yeah, for the foreseeable future, I don't think it gets better. I hope it does. I mean, I hope my book changes everyone's hearts and minds, and podcasts like this, like get out into the zeitgeist and people start to rethink their lives a little bit and how they treat others. But really that boils down to thinking you have to look inside first. You have to work within your competence and, improve yourself first. And instead of taking it out on other people.
Right.
Shit's hard.
It is. And you make a valid point. I mean, here what we do, we can talk a lot about how shitty we get treated. It's really not about us getting treated bad. It's about trying to get people to change and be regular humans, like you've touched on.
Yeah.
We're all people. We're all part of the same race. We're all part of the human race. And this entitlement and abusiveness that comes from people because they just walk in the store and see somebody with a name tag, they automatically think that they're lesser. It's a problem, I mean, people come in where I work and they see me and they ask me questions. They don't know what my career has been. They don't know what I've done. They don't understand that underneath what they see. I've had a pretty stellar career and I have nothing to prove to anybody. But just because you're in a certain position, you're lesser. So, but what we're going to do here, we're right at an hour. Irish Connection, you get the last question of the night.
Okay. Well, just briefly, I'll just respond to the last question. So in terms of if COVID-19 has broken the relationship forever, I think mostly what COVID-19 has done is launched us retail like into the kind of future where it would have been in 15 years time in terms of online shopping becoming predominant, and just getting back onto what Adam had said before about you make $20 an hour, but then the cost of living just eats that. So most of people that work in retail are experiencing that, and now there's a kind of an acknowledgement that the money isn't worth it. So second to that, you look at work-life balance, and then that's fucked as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I told Steve before we came on, like I spoke to a manager in a convenience store yesterday, can't hire anyone, nobody is applying, because their convenience store is open from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. and you have to be available within those hours, never have a weekend off, for minimum wage. So, the money is bad. But second to that, work-life balance is, I think, during the COVID pandemic, became the number one priority for most people and that's what, I suppose, I'll pose that to you as a question. Do you think I'm correct or not? What's your opinion on that?
That the COVID pandemic was, wait, so could you restate the question again?
Sure. That what the pandemic has really done has pushed retail into the future to where we would have been, where work-life balance just isn't there. Combine that with wages, and then that's why people are not going back.
Yeah, technology definitely will have a huge impact on that. You saw it. I saw it in real time ramp up at our store where they hired on 30 people that were just shopping for online. But yeah, and if it takes away so that was a gig economy thing at first, which is another kind of, way you can make side money. And then they absorbed that whole department into the store, and it became, like you had to work certain hours. You couldn't just sign up for whatever. And it took away the work-life balance that people wanted to achieve by working like a store shopper or something like that. That's definitely going to affect it. The working odd hours, and I think kind of all boils, like a lot of that boils down to what the way that people perceive work and what the value of what you do. Like people think that when you at least in the United States, when you like get a college degree, that you're entitled to get some sort of certain amount of money or something like that, or even if it's in sociology or something to that effect, where it doesn't really have a lot of pragmatic uses in society. Like you are entitled to like have a job that pays a certain amount, as opposed to the value of just doing work in general. Like we need all these people to do work, like to work as a meat cutter, work in produce and organize, or buying in a grocery store, stuff like that. And if you're patient with it, you can get into that area of a grocery store. It's not all being a cashier and just working on the floor. It's a whole city of a small town of different elements to get the thing going. People don't think like that though. They think very surface oriented. They just see these, like a lot of younger people, like fucking around at a cashier or whatever, or at the cash register. But you can find a career out of it. You really can. You just have to think more deeply about what it means to work and what goes into the places you can work. And I hope that answered what you asked.
I think so. And you're right. And when you break it in the grocery, when you look at like meat department and produce department and frozen food department and dairy department, those are essential jobs, period. End of story. Those are the things that people come in and they have to have. And I'm hoping that with your book, and I'm hoping with the movements that are going forward, the people understand that it's not an entitlement. They're not entitled to walk into a grocery store and say, I should get this. They should understand that there are people that are making these things happen for them. And unfortunately, in grocery, you're catering to a society of lazy. So if you work in a produce department, someone's going to come in and rather than pay 98 cents for an onion, is going to pay $2.50 for a container that somebody just chopped that same onion up. And, those kind of things, I mean, they look at it as a convenience when in all actuality, I guess most of these people can't use knives. So it is essential, because I'm convinced the people that come in grocery stores, they would not survive without them, period. These are not people who could function. They can't even slice an onion. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. They have, the opinion has to change. And it's real easy to yell at cashiers and whatnot because they're there. I mean, they're always, and you're right, 100%. When you venture into a department that's kind of like an essential department, you're different. You're not the cashier that's up front getting berated. But by God, they'll treat you the same damn way. And you can't look at them and say, well, I'm sorry, Karen, that you can't use a knife, and it's just ridiculous. But, you shine the light on it all. And I can't wait for, how long do you think it's going to be before the sequel comes out, you think?
I'm trying to crank at it. It just takes a long time. And I'm busy with regular life stuff, like the stuff that pays me more. And
right.
Doing a lot of press. I signed up for another month of the PR stuff. So hopefully that'll ramp up a lot. And like if I can get out of having a job at like a regular job then I could really focus on it. But I'm pretty dedicated to getting it hopefully done. I don't know, early like spring next year.
Can't wait. I'm sure it'll be awesome. If it's anything like the first one, it's gonna be great.
You know where I'll be going first to talk about it too. So.
Thank you. We love having you, man. I think you're cool as shit. I really enjoyed the fact that you came on the first time, and I'm glad that we talked about this off camera. Blame tag. Here's your shot. This is always your shameless plug. What social media community is the best for retail? We've talked about this.
Twitter.
It's Twitter. It is. And it's great. And I thank all of you guys. And I thank Adam. And I enjoy watching his journey. I enjoy, he posted on Facebook. He's got a picture of a book and a U.S. mail bag getting ready to go to New York for TV. That's awesome, man. Just being connected with somebody who's doing something that's progressive for the business is awesome. And, I hope he winds up on the New York Times bestseller list because he should. I think the book's fucking great. And I'm not saying that just because he's on the show, because I read it and I've worked grocery and I understand and I get it. And just like a bunch of you who've read it and you got triggered, it's real, man. He did a great job. So there it is. Blame tag. The Twitter retail community is the best community on Twitter. Yes, it is. So, yeah. Guys, we are sitting at an hour and 08. Irish Connection, you got anything you want to add real quick before we get out of here?
Just on behalf of Blame Tag, I'd like everyone to share this and tag Scott Seiss.
Yes, tag Scott Seiss. We are on the Scott Seiss on the Retail Warzone thing. Adam, are you familiar with Scott Seiss?
No.
All right. So, well, actually, you are, and you don't know it. You've seen the the TikTok videos of the dude with the mustache and the hair who does like the cuss. Yes, that's him. Yeah. We're trying to get him on. I blow up Twitter every day with some sort of graphic I've done. That's our big thing. So we're trying to get him on.
Videos are great, man. They're hilarious.
He's awesome. But anyway, man, thank you so much for being on again. I'm happy to watch your journey. I think it's great. I think what you've done is amazing for people that work in the business. And, I don't say that, for any other reason than it's fact. I mean, like I said, I don't read books. And, I sat down and read yours like, boom. I was like, oh shit, this is like real. This is like virtual reality, but reading. So you did a great job. So thank you. And, Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I really appreciate this so much, Steve. It's a blast to talk to you. I love how everyone's connected. This is the same sort of thing that happened with the Facebook group. It's like people all connecting together and sharing their stories. And it's kind of like the best part of the internet.
It is.
Like the really good stuff is finding human connection. And I love being on the show. I'll definitely come on anytime you want me to. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it, bud.
Well, just to let you know, September 29th is our current date. We're going to have a free-for-all. I'm going to try to get as many people on camera and on audio as we can. I recently realized that we can have up to 50 people on Skype at one time. Wow. And it's not going to be any kind of topic. We're just going to sit and bitch. So if you want to come on, just let me know and we'll throw you in there. So it's going to be fun. And we're also doing in October the Worst Manager Lifetime Achievement Awards. So check that out.
Okay.
This is going to be great. But anyway, guys, thank you everybody for watching tonight. Make sure you like the stream if you're on YouTube. It helps us out a great bit. It helps us get in the algorithm. Doesn't make anybody any money. It just gets us out there more so people can see what we're doing. And everybody have a great night. Once again, Adam, thank you for being on. Irish, thank you for being on. And next week, I'm not real sure what we're doing, but I'll let you know real soon. So everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.